Hello everyone, welcome to session 14 of IASbaba's Rapid Revision series or RaRe series for UPSC Prelims Examination 2021. I'm Pritham Reddy and in this session I'll be dealing with 10 high probable topics from Geography Current Affairs which are important for UPSC Prelims Examination 2021. So today again we will be dealing with climatology related articles. So first one, tropical cyclones and conditions for their formation, and we'll try to understand temperate cyclones and what is the difference between tropical cyclones and temperate cyclones, and then factors that have led to increased frequency of tropical cyclones. So why there is increase in tropical cyclones, especially in both Bay of Bengal as well as Arabian Sea, and then we have naming of tropical cyclones and reasons for deficit rainfall during northeast monsoon. So there was article which discussed regarding the factors which lead to deficit rainfall during the northeast monsoon, or why northeast monsoon rainfall is subdued. And then there was article regarding artificial rain, western disturbances. So next, Bobble experiment which actually deals with prediction of Indian monsoon, and Kerman line, and heliosphere, heliosheet, and heliopause. So these are the topics for today's session. So first important topic, that is tropical cyclones. So first, students should remember some of the important cyclone names which occurred during 2020 and 2021. So they might frame questions, which particular cyclone it was originated in which particular region or which states were affected. Okay, so try to know Amphan, Nisarga, Nivar, Burevi, and Taukte and Yas. Okay, so these are the cyclones which happened during 2020 and 2021. So Amphan was over Bay of Bengal, Nisarga was over Arabian Sea, Cyclone Nivar was Bay of Bengal, Burevi was Bay of Bengal, Taukte was Arabian Sea, and Yas was Bay of Bengal. Okay, so try to remember, try to revise these. So let's try to understand what is tropical cyclone. So we know that cyclones are nothing but intense low pressure area. So intense low pressure area, or we can call it as a whirl in the atmosphere. So these intense low pressure area over tropical or subtropical waters with organized convection. So what is convection? So thunderstorm activity, right? And winds at low levels which are circulating either anti-clockwise or clockwise. So usually anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. So we can say a cyclone is nothing but an intense low pressure area with organized convection, with winds at low levels circulating either anti-clockwise or clockwise. And tropical cyclones are violent storms that originate over oceans and tropical areas. That's why it is called tropical cyclones. So students have to remember, so usually from the center of a cyclonic storm, what is happening? Pressure increases outwards. So the amount of the pressure drop in the center and the rate at which it increases outwards, it gives the intensity of the cyclones and the strength of the winds. So next we'll see. So cyclones, they are called as cyclones in the Indian Ocean, hurricanes in the Atlantic Ocean, typhoons in the Western Pacific and South China Sea, and Willy Willies in the Western Australia. So these are, so cyclones, they are called in different names. So there is no much difference. So depending on where they occur. So hurricanes may be called as typhoons or cyclones. So you have to remember. So both tropical cyclones or hurricanes, they are one and the same. There is no difference. So for prelims, just remember these tropical cyclones or hurricanes, so they use warm moist air as fuel and they form over warm ocean waters near the equator. And the tropical cyclones, they are called with different names, right? So they form over Atlantic Ocean, they form over Pacific Ocean, so with different names. So cyclones, so we call cyclones as tropical cyclones when they form over Atlantic Ocean, when we call it as hurricanes when they are formed over Pacific Ocean, and the ones that form over Northwest Pacific, they are called as typhoon, and Willy Willies over where? Australia, right? So we'll try to understand next what are the conditions for the formation of tropical cyclone or hurricanes. So what are the conditions for formation of tropical cyclones or hurricanes? So first is a source of warm moist air which is derived from tropical oceans with sea surface temperature normally or in excess of 27 degree Celsius. So this is the first condition. So there should be warm moist air, and also the sea surface temperature should be around 27 degrees Celsius. So next important condition is the winds near the ocean surface, so blowing from different directions, converging and causing air to rise and storm clouds to form. Okay, so this is the second point. So third, winds which do not vary greatly with height. So next condition is regarding the role of wind shear. So usually the winds which do not vary greatly with height, so they are known as low wind shear. So when I say low wind shear, it means winds which do not vary greatly with height. So there should be low wind shear. So this allows the storm clouds to rise vertically to high levels. So next, presence of Coriolis force. So it provides energy to rotate or curve in anti-clockwise, especially in northern hemisphere, or clockwise in southern hemisphere. So these are some of the important facts which you have to remember with respect to tropical cyclones. And you should also know the geographical distribution. So usually 6 important regions are there which are very much vulnerable to tropical cyclones. So the first one is tropical North Atlantic, that is Gulf of Mexico, West Indies and Caribbean Sea. So you can see here, so it is this particular region, that is tropical North Atlantic. So cyclones in this particular region, we call it as hurricanes. So you have to remember, so we call it as hurricanes, and they occur mainly during August to October as shown in the figure. So what are the main reasons for tropical cyclone in this particular area? Because of the convective instability and also increased sea surface temperature and also low wind shear and other thermodynamic activities. Okay, so next one is eastern part of the tropical North Pacific. So that is western coast of the Mexico and Central America. So as you can see this particular area, so generally cyclones are observed during June to October, so June July month, and the major reason or major factors is shifting of ITCZ, that is intertropical convergence zone northwards, and low pressure which is formed in this particular region. That's the reason there is formation of tropical cyclones, and also due to the Coriolis force. So next important, western part of tropical North Pacific, that is the Southeast Asia region, that is Philippines, China Sea and the areas around the Japan. Okay, so this is the area where it is occurring usually during June to December month. So next important area is, we already know, Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea and Western South Pacific Ocean, that is regions of Fiji Island, north coast of Australia, Samoa, etc. And then the south coast of Indian Ocean, that is coastal regions of Madagascar. So these are some of the important areas, and I have given some important content related to these areas, especially in your RaRe notes. So you can read and revise those. So next important topic, that is temperate cyclones. So just now we saw what is tropical cyclone. So usually tropical cyclone, they occur near the equator or the tropical region, and these temperate cyclones, they are nothing but they form far away from the equator region, and temperate cyclones, they usually occur during the winter season. So this is what we have to remember, and there are some difference between tropical cyclone and temperate cyclone. So based on that, we can define what is temperate cyclone. So the major difference is how they originate. So these temperate cyclones, they usually originate because of movement of air masses and Coriolis force, that is frontogenesis. Whereas when it comes to tropical cyclone, so they are usually originated because of the thermal origin, that is formation of central low pressure zone, and which is surrounded by high pressure zones. Okay, so we'll try to know what is the difference between tropical cyclones and temperate cyclones. So from this we can define what is temperate cyclone. So first important difference is, this tropical cyclone, they are usually formed in lower latitudes, whereas temperate cyclone, it is formed in the higher latitudes. So usually tropical cyclones, they are closer to the equator, whereas temperate, they are far away from the equator. So 10 to 30 degree north and south, this is the region where we can find tropical cyclones, whereas temperate cyclones are 35 to 65 degree north and south. So second, this is very important difference, that is the origin, as I told. So usually the origin of tropical cyclone is because of the thermal origin. Okay, so you have to remember thermal origin. So it originates via formation of central low pressure zone, which is surrounded by high pressure zone. When it comes to temperate cyclone, so majorly here it is dynamic origin. So it is majorly because of the movement of this thing, air masses, and also Coriolis force. So here it is dynamic origin, I can call it as. So they originate via merger of cold and warm fronts because of the movement of air masses. So next important difference from this, we come to know that here it is movement of air masses, so it is due to frontogenesis. But in tropical cyclone, usually there is absence of what? Absence of fronts, right? So frontal system is absent. So I can say frontal system is absent, whereas temperate cyclone, usually it is because of occluded front, that is frontogenesis. So you can remember here frontogenesis as well. Frontogenesis. And third important or fourth important difference is tropical cyclones, they are more intense and destructive, whereas temperate cyclones, they are not so intense and destructive compared to the tropical cyclone. And due to action of Coriolis force, they move from east to west. So this is what we have to remember, whereas temperate cyclone, they move from west to east. So this is the major difference. And then tropical cyclones, they affect a smaller area, whereas this temperate cyclone, they affect wider area, mostly 2 to 3 continents. So this is the difference. And next important difference, tropical cyclone, they form only on seas with temperature more than 26 degrees Celsius, and they dissipate on reaching the land, whereas temperate cyclones, they can be formed both on land and as well as sea. This is a major difference, so from which we can differentiate the tropical cyclone as well as temperate cyclone. Next, tropical cyclone, they doesn't last for more than 7 days as they travel lesser distance, whereas temperate cyclone, the duration is usually 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So because they travel longer distances. So the center of a tropical cyclone, it is known as the eye, and tropical cyclone, it is characterized by this particular cyclonic eye. So the wind is calm at the center with no rainfall. You have to remember, when it comes to temperate, so there is absence of such eye. So due to absence of eye, what happens? Precipitation occurs even in the center of the cyclone. So in tropical cyclone, there is no precipitation in the center of the cyclone, so there is no rainfall. So the wind is calm at the center. But in tropical cyclone, usually because of the absence of eye, so precipitation occurs even in the center of the cyclone. And you have to know, in a temperate cyclone, there is not a single place where winds and rains are inactive. So next you have to know, in a temperate cyclone, there is not a single place where winds or rains, they are inactive. So next important difference is the diameter of tropical cyclone. They vary from 150 to 500 kilometers vertically from the surface to about 12 kilometers. So usually the diameter of the tropical cyclone, they vary between 150 to 500 kilometer, whereas the diameter of these temperate cyclones, they vary between 160 kilometer to 3200 kilometers. And next you have to know, the isobar of tropical cyclones, they are circular in shape or elliptical, and pressure gradient is very steep. And when it comes to temperate cyclones, isobars are V-shaped and pressure gradient is gentle. So next, the velocity of wind. So tropical cyclone, it is greater. It is usually 100 to 220 km per hour, whereas velocity of wind of temperate cyclone, it is comparatively low. So next important difference is the rainfall or precipitation. So usually rainfall in tropical cyclones, they are very heavy, but they do not last beyond a few hours. So if in case the cyclone stays at a place, then there will be continuous rainfall for few days. Otherwise, usually the rainfall is heavy, but they do not last beyond few hours. But when it comes to temperate cyclones, the rainfall is slow, but it continues for many days, and even sometimes even for weeks. So these are some of the important differences what you have to read and revise with respect to tropical cyclone as well as temperate cyclone. So let's move on to next important topic, that is, what are the factors that have led to the increased frequency of tropical cyclones. So there were some current affairs article which discussed regarding the frequency of tropical cyclones which have increased, especially in the Arabian Sea. So we'll see what are the factors, major factors that have led to increase in the frequency of tropical cyclones, especially over Arabian Sea as well as Bay of Bengal. So first, obviously we all know it is because of global warming and climate change, and also some weather related changes. So second important factor why there is increase in Arabian Sea, it is because of the role played by the winter monsoon circulations. So there is increase in frequency of tropical cyclone observed in Arabian Sea. So here winter monsoon circulation, they play an important role. So you have to remember, And next, the role of wind shear over Arabian Sea. So when I was discussing earlier during the tropical cyclone, so I had discussed regarding the wind shear when we were discussing the tropical cyclone. So I said winds which do not vary greatly with height. So a low wind shear, it is one of the condition for the formation of tropical cyclone. So what is happening? Usually the wind shear across Arabian Sea, so they are high. However, recently this particular wind shear, it is becoming low. So you have to know why this wind shear is weakening in this particular Arabian Sea. So we have to know the wind shear is weakening, and major reason for this one is because of the rise of global temperature, and also because of the increasing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So the increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it can decrease the wind shear. So we know that there is increase in carbon dioxide or increase in global temperature because of the rise in man-made black carbon particles as well as sulfate emissions, and also the rise in global temperature. So it has increased the intensity of cyclones across the globe, and even including the cyclones occurring in the Arabian Sea. So what are the other major contributions to the rise in global temperature? It is burning of fossil fuels, aerosols, greenhouse gases, volcanic activity, solar variability, and other internal climate variability. They also add degree to sea surface temperature. That's why it is making conducive weather conditions for tropical cyclones. So it is increasing the sea level temperature or sea surface temperature to almost 27 degree. So that's the reason it is making it conducive weather condition for the tropical cyclones. This is the reason why there is increased frequency of tropical cyclones. So these are the factors which you have to remember. And you can also remember one more point, 6.1, that is La Nina, right? So even the La Nina condition, that is the weather pattern in the Pacific Ocean, that is less damaging than the El Nino event. So this La Nina conditions which change the atmospheric circulation over the North Indian Ocean, so they also make favorable condition for cyclogenesis. So you have to remember, so occurrence of La Nina phenomena. So next important, we will see what are the reasons for coastal India to be susceptible. So why there is more and more cyclones, and why it affects the coastal India, and especially why Bay of Bengal, so it is more susceptible compared to the Arabian Sea. So why cyclones are more prevalent in Bay of Bengal compared to the Arabian Sea. So first one, it is due to the high temperature difference between land and sea, and then Coriolis force. So next, Bay of Bengal region is more vulnerable because of the topography of the eastern region. So there is absence of mountains to block the incoming winds. And then tropical cyclones are more frequent in Bay of Bengal because of the remnants of Pacific Ocean hurricane and air circulation and trade winds from the northeast. And next is heat island concept. So coastal regions, they are heavily industrialized. So all these factors, so Bay of Bengal region, it is more susceptible compared to the Arabian Sea. So you have to revise all these important factors in your static books, so before going to the exam. So next important topic is naming of tropical cyclones. So we have come across lot of names, right? Yas, Taukte, and Burevi, Niver, Nisarga, Amphan. So why? So what is the mechanism to name this particular tropical cyclones? So cyclones, they were usually not named, but this tradition, it started especially after the naming of hurricanes in the Atlantic Ocean. So we know that naming of tropical cyclones, it will help the scientific community. It will also help the disaster managers, even media, and to create general awareness in the masses. So it will help to identify each individual cyclone, and it helps to create awareness of its development. And also there will be confusion in case of simultaneous occurrence of tropical cyclones over a region. So it is easy to remember. That's the reason the naming of tropical cyclones is important. And it was in 2000. So it was in year 2000. So a group of nations called the WMO, that is World Meteorological Organization, United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. So this group of organization or nations, they were formed, and this comprised of Bangladesh, India, Maldives, Myanmar, Oman, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Thailand, and later on 5 other countries, that is Iran, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Yemen. All these people joined this particular WMO ESCAP. So currently there are 13 nations in this WMO, that is World Meteorological Organization, United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. So these 13 nations, they provide the names. So each of these 13 nations, they provide their own list of names which would be clubbed together to form a one single sheet. So as you can see in this figure, so now there is 13 different nations and they have given 13 different names. So total 169 names are released, especially in this 2020. So especially in 2020, so this list of 169 names were released by the 13 nations. So you can see here cyclone Nisarga, Gati, Nivar, Burevi, Taukte, Yas. So India also has given certain names: Gati, Tej, Ag, Vyom. Okay, so you can remember some of these names. So you have to know the naming of tropical cyclones. So next important topic is reasons for deficit rainfall during northeast monsoon. So there was article in the Indian Express which was talking about why the rainfall during the northeast monsoon, it can be subdued or it can be decreased. So what is the reason? So we'll try to understand. So for that, first we have to know what is the difference between southeast monsoon and northeast monsoon. So we all know that India's climate, it is affected by two seasonal winds. So northeast monsoon and the southwest monsoon. So we'll try to know the difference. So usually southwest monsoon, it is associated with summer, and northeast monsoon, it is associated with winter. So first we'll see southwest monsoon. So it occurs between the June and September, and it is commonly known as summer monsoon. Whereas northeast monsoon, it occurs during October to December, and they are commonly known as winter monsoon. And the southwest monsoon, it blows from sea to land. So you can see in the figure, so it is blowing from the sea to land. Whereas northeast monsoon, it is blowing from the land to sea, right? So this is the major difference. And the southwest monsoon, since it is blowing from sea to land, it brings most of the rainfall, and it brings a lot of rainfall, around 75% to the entire country. Whereas northeast monsoon, it is comparatively a small scale monsoon because it is blowing from land to sea. It doesn't pick a lot of moisture. So this northeast monsoon, it causes rainfall only in the Coromandel coast and some parts of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry and also Andhra Pradesh. So you can see in the figure. So whatever the moisture which is picked from the Bay of Bengal, so the rainfall is over the Andhra Pradesh or Coromandel coast and also Tamil Nadu. So this is the difference which you have to remember. So these are the differences which you have to remember. So next we'll try to understand what are the major reasons for the deficit rainfall during northeast monsoon. So last year during 2020, IMD, that is India Meteorological Department, it had forecasted below normal rainfall, especially over Tamil Nadu. So it had told there will be deficit rainfall during northeast monsoon. So we'll see what are the major reasons. So first you have to know, unless the southwest monsoon withdraws completely, so northeast monsoon cannot commence. So only after the complete withdrawal of the southwest monsoon from the country, so only after that, that is around mid-October, so the wind pattern, it rapidly changes, and it rapidly changes from southwesterly to the northeasterly direction. So only when southwest monsoon withdraws completely, so northeast monsoon cannot commence. And last year in 2020, we experienced deficit rainfall during the northeast monsoon because the withdrawal of the southwest monsoon, it had remained stagnant. So this is one of the reason. So second important reason is the prevailing La Nina conditions in the Pacific Ocean. So in our previous rapid revision series, I have covered regarding El Nino and La Nina phenomena and how it impacts the Indian monsoon. So I won't be dealing much regarding the La Nina and El Nina conditions here. So just know El Nino and La Nina phenomena, they play a important role when it comes to influencing the global weather, that is winds, temperature and rainfall, and they have the ability to trigger extreme weather events like droughts, floods, even the cyclones, etc. So here it is providing that because of the prevailing La Nina conditions in the Pacific Ocean, so what is happening whenever there is La Nina conditions, so it will enhance the rainfall associated with southwest monsoon. However, when there is prevailing La Nina condition in the Pacific Ocean, it has negative impact on the rainfall associated with the northeast monsoon. So you have to know during La Nina years, so what is happening? The low pressures or the cyclones which form in the Bay of Bengal, so they are significantly to the north of their normal position. So in this figure you can see, so what happens whenever there is prevailing La Nina condition, So usually the low pressure or the cyclones which are supposed to be formed in the Bay of Bengal, so usually they remain to the north. So because it remains to the north of their normal position, so much of the rainfall, so it doesn't happen over the southern regions like the Tamil Nadu. So because the low pressure or the cyclones, they are to the north of their normal position, so not much rainfall occurs over the southern regions like the Tamil Nadu or Andhra Pradesh. So that is one condition. Second condition is the position of the ITCZ, so intertropical convective zone. Even this plays a crucial role. So we know that ITCZ, it is a low pressure belt, right? So it is a low pressure belt. So last year during 2020, so this ITCZ, that is this low pressure belt, so it had positioned itself to the north. So because of which it contributed to the poor rainfall. Okay, so these are some of the important reasons or factors what you have to remember why there was deficit rainfall during the northeast monsoon. So next important topic is artificial rain. So artificial rain, it was in news because recently Uttarakhand High Court, it had suggested artificial rains to douse off the forest fires, especially over Kumaon range. So it happened during April 2021. And also even the Delhi government, so it was planning to use this idea of artificial rain in order to clear the toxic air which is present in the capital. So this idea of using artificial rain was mooted both by the Uttarakhand High Court as well as the Delhi government. So we'll try to understand what is this artificial rain. So it is nothing but the practice of artificially inducing or increasing precipitation through clouds by adding some external agents. So we'll be adding some external agents or foreign particles. So we also call this technique as cloud seeding. So you have to remember cloud seeding. And these external agents or foreign particles, they can be dry ice or silver iodide or salt powder. So dry ice, that is solid carbon dioxide. So these are some of the external agents or foreign particles which can be induced or which can be used in order to artificially increase precipitation. So during the times of drought and dryness, the temperature is so high that the mass of air is unable to reach the dew point. Hence condensation fails to take place, thus leading to prolonged drought kind of conditions. So in order to hasten or to quicken the condensation, so we are infusing the condensation nuclei into the air masses. So this will speed up the condensation process and in turn it will result into rainfall or precipitation. So from prelims perspective, you have to just remember the second point which is important, that is the foreign particles which are used. So dry ice or solid carbon dioxide, silver iodide and salt powder. And with mains perspective, you have to know what are the limitations of this artificial rain. So is it advantageous or does it have any disadvantage? And also you should know whether this usage of dry ice or solid carbon dioxide, is it good or is it bad? I think this dry ice is part of POP. So it is a kind of pollutant. So you have to know about this dry ice or solid carbon dioxide and silver iodide, okay, and its application as well. And you should know how is artificial rain produced. So there are three stages. One is the agitation stage, building up stage and seeding stage. So you have to know when what chemicals are added and during which particular stage what is happening and what are the outcome in those stages. So if you revise these things, that is sufficient. So next important topic is western disturbances. So this western disturbance was also in news because Delhi, it had broken a 13-year-old rainfall record, especially in the month of May 2021. Okay, so during May 2021, so Delhi recorded the highest rainfall in 13 years. That's the reason this particular western disturbances concept was in news. So the weather officials, they had attributed this record rainfall to the western disturbance as well as the induced cyclonic circulations. So we'll try to understand what are these western disturbances and what is the role of jet stream when it comes to western disturbances. So first important fact what we have to know is western disturbance, it is an extratropical storm which is originating in the Mediterranean region and it brings sudden winter rainfall over the northern or northwestern part of Indian subcontinent. So one, it is associated with extratropical storm and second, it is associated with winter rainfall. And next you have to know, as you can see in the figure, this western disturbance, so they travel from the west to the eastern direction, right? So from Mediterranean Sea, from Caspian Sea, it is traveling towards the east and it is reaching India. And we call this western disturbance as extratropical. Why? Because this extratropical means outside the tropics. So this particular disturbance, it is originating outside the tropical region. That's the reason we call it as extratropical. And these western disturbances, they are associated with rainfall, snowfall and fog in northern India. And upon its arrival, especially in Pakistan and northern India, so clouds along with rain and snow, they also arrive. And usually the moisture in these storms, they are originated from this Mediterranean Sea as well as Caspian Sea and then Black Sea. So the next important point what we have to know is it is a non-monsoonal precipitation pattern driven by the westerlies. So we know that westerly jet stream, they blow at a very high speed during winter over the subtropical zone. So this particular jet stream, which is bifurcated by the Himalayan ranges and Tibetan plateau. So we have this southern branch which blows to the south of the Himalayan ranges, and we have northern branch which blows along the northern edge of the Tibetan plateau. So we know that westerly jet stream, they blow at a very high speed during winter over the subtropical zone, and meteorologists believe that this jet stream, so they are the important factor and they play crucial role in this particular winter weather condition in India. So this jet stream, it is responsible for steering whatever the western depressions or disturbances are there from the Mediterranean Sea towards the northern part of India. So you have to remember it is a non-monsoonal precipitation, and moisture in these storms usually it originates over Mediterranean Sea, Caspian Sea and Black Sea. And next point you have to know, extratropical storms, they are global phenomena with moisture usually carried in the upper atmosphere. So unlike their tropical counterparts where the moisture is carried in the lower atmosphere, this particular extra tropical storms, they are global phenomena and the moisture usually carried in the upper atmosphere, which you have to know. And next important point is this western disturbances, they are more frequent and they are more stronger in the winter season, and they are important for the development of Rabi crop, especially the wheat. So these are some of the important facts which you have to remember with respect to western disturbances. So next important topic, Probable experiment to predict Indian monsoon. So what is Probable? Bay of Bengal boundary layer experiment, and it is a joint project between India and UK. So Indian Institute of Science, which is in Bangalore, and UK based university, they have collaborated in order to create a blueprint for accurate prediction of monsoon, tropical cyclones and other weather conditions, and to understand the role of thermodynamic surface as well as mixed layer processes in the monsoon. So majorly you have to remember for prelims, this Probable experiment is Bay of Bengal boundary layer experiment, and it is a India UK project, and it is to predict Indian monsoon, it is to predict tropical cyclones and other weather conditions which is happening over the Indian region. So why UK is collaborating? Because we know that Bay of Bengal, it plays a fundamental role in controlling the weather systems that make up the South Asian summer monsoon system. So in order to understand that, India is collaborating with the UK so that we can understand the role of large scale ocean structure as well as ocean dynamic and ocean biochemistry in the monsoon. So next important topic is Karman line. So this Karman line was again in news. So it is nothing but it is the altitude where space begins. So it is around 100 km high, and it commonly represents the border between the Earth's atmosphere and the outer space. So it is a internationally recognized boundary of space. So this Karman line, it is the internationally recognized boundary of space. The line is named after Karman, who was a Hungarian and American engineer and physicist, so who was actively involved in aeronautics and astronautics. So as you can see in the figure, so this Karman line, it is a imaginary boundary and it is somewhere around 100 kilometers. So it is around 100 kilometers above the mean sea level, and in theory this 100-kilometer line, that is Karman line, if it is crossed, the atmosphere becomes too thin to provide enough lift for the conventional aircraft to maintain flight. And at this altitude, a conventional plane, it would need to reach orbital velocity or risk falling back to the Earth. So just remember this particular concept of Karman line. So next important topic is heliosphere, heliosheet and heliopause. So yesterday we already saw what is heliosphere. So I told heliosphere is nothing but a bubble or it is a shield which is created by sun. So this particular shield, it is protecting our solar system from interstellar space explosions and other supernova activities. So we have two more terms, that is heliosheet and heliopause. So as you can see in the figure, so we have heliosheet and heliopause. So what is heliosheet? It is nothing but the outer region of the heliosphere just beyond the termination shock. So the point where the solar wind slowly abrupts and becomes denser and hotter. So the solar wind, it piles up. So the solar wind, it piles up as it presses outward against the approaching wind in interstellar space. And heliopause, like tropopause, mesopause, okay, so it is a transition and it is a boundary between solar wind and interstellar wind where the pressure of the two winds are in balance. So this balance in pressure, it causes the solar wind to turn back and flow down the tail of the heliosphere. So just know these different terms, heliosphere, heliosheet and heliopause. So if in case a question comes, we will come to know that this is related to a bubble which is surrounding our solar system and which is protecting our solar system from interstellar space activities or supernova activities. So these are the topics for today's session. So we'll meet in next session, that is tomorrow, environment and science and tech. Thank you.